Fox News and their medical team is demanding that before minors are allowed to avail themselves of any gender-affirming care, there should be steps that have to be taken. Therapy, for example, blood tests, physical exams. And of course, all these things are already happening. I'm going to show you these clips. This is pretty wild stuff. So Fox News had this panel with Dr. Mark Siegel and some other people, and they were talking about trans kids, and this is a very hot button issue right now. It really agitates the right. It's one of the top issues they like talking about. Here is one doctor saying what should be required. Take a listen.
Your take on that as well.
I completely agree with Dr. Siegel. I mean, she is not the god of science. Science, medicine, they call it a practice because it's...
This is Dr. Janette Nesheiwat, Fox News contributor.
Constantly evolving. We need to change our guidelines and our protocols as we progress, as we learn more information. But gender dysphoria, this is a very serious and sensitive issue, a very serious topic because it has a very high suicide rate, very high suicidal ideation rate. Up to 42% of those who struggle with their identity think about suicide because of the stress that it has on them and even their families. So I don't think it's right for Rachel Levine to impose, it seemed, her personal views on all of us. Instead, we know that some people will benefit from, transitioning and gender affirming care, but we want to do it the right way. And that starts off with taking a history and a physical, maybe doing blood work, getting counseling and therapy, not rushing to hormones and irreversible surgeries that might have long-term consequences or irreversible.
So she has some ideas of things that should happen before surgeries take place. Let's watch one more clip and then we'll talk about this.
It's about approximately 2/3.
It's Dr. Siegel, you mentioned it. When should these things be approached with the individuals who are experiencing gender dysphoria? There's got to be an age that is too young, right?
Well, for sure, puberty is too young to be talking about transition, and that's where all the debating is going on. And the mental health issues are really important because 70% or more of those that have gender dysphoria have major mental health issues going on simultaneously. We can't sweep that under the rug. We have to. What's the downside of counseling? What's the downside of seeing a therapist and working through what you're feeling?
Okay, so listen, they have ideas about what should take place before minors are allowed to do certain things. Or even maybe they're talking about adults here. It's not totally clear, but they definitely seem concerned about minors. That's going on. The requirements vary to some degree state by state, but generally speaking, to even get going down this path, there is a protocol. And it does start with the physical exam and the initial conversation. Oftentimes there is some blood testing that's done. And at a certain point, a diagnosis is established of gender dysphoria. Now, some of these folks don't believe that gender dysphoria is a real thing, but others say, well, you should actually have to be diagnosed after going through an initial. Okay, well, so for those people in that latter group, you get the diagnosis after an evaluation. Often it includes a mental health professional like a psychologist or a psychiatrist making that diagnosis to even be able to enter this entire path. That's a requirement in just about every state, or requirement, part of the protocol. And they're talking about protocol for the most part. Evidence of informed consent is required when you're talking about minors. Minors may be required to show that they really understand the risks, benefits, implications, and possible complications of whatever it is that they're agreeing with their doctor that they want to do. And in some cases, this also requires the informed consent of the parent or guardian. Depends on the state. There's controversial aspects to that, but that's part of the protocol already. Again, they're saying they want this stuff. This is already part of the protocol. 3, in order to move to the surgery component, you often need evidence of long-term hormone therapy as well as therapy, psychotherapy, to talk about and explore how that is going and whether the surgery is actually the logical next step. There are states that require minors to have been taking hormones for a certain amount of time before they're even eligible for surgery. And this is to make sure the family, the individuals, everybody knows, how does this work to some degree? It's really the right thing for me, etc. And then at the tail end of all of this, almost always a letter from a mental health professional who has been involved in this often from the get-go, saying, here are all the things we've done. I believe that surgery is appropriate and that this individual is well suited and predisposed to surgery. Sometimes that psychotherapy period goes on for a period of time as well, again, depending on the state. That's what they say. We just can't go around doing this stuff willy-nilly. I mean, what's wrong with therapy and a physical exam and getting the diagnosis? That's the protocol. That's the protocol. I have still not found, and I am more than willing to review evidence if anybody has it for me. I have not found any place you can just kind of show up and say, I think I'd like surgery. Oh, have you been diagnosed with gender dysphoria? Have you done hormone therapy? Have you met with it? No, I just want, oh, sure. Yeah, next week, come in and we'll do the therapy. I've just not heard of that anywhere in the United States. If it exists, I want to know more about it. Let me know, but I was able to find no evidence of it. So I guess the good news is the protocol that Fox doctors want to see already is in place. The next step is getting them to mention that rather than saying 5-year-olds are getting their breasts cut off. 5-year-olds have breasts? Well, no, but they're still doing. Come on, guys. Come on. We'll have these clips on our Instagram, which you can find at David Pakman Show on Instagram.